Hey guys, Jesse here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the real grade Gundam Astray gold frame Amatsu Mina. Now, for those of you who watch my channel a lot, you'll know that I don't tend to look at a lot of real grades. I've only ever really reviewed one, and that was the real grade red frame, and I think that's simply because the real grade line just doesn't really appeal to me. It's more for out-of-box builders, and I think with Bandai's more recent releases, that's more apparent than ever, but I'll talk a bit about that more towards the end. But that being said, whenever Bandai does something unique, I can't help myself but check it out, and this kit is definitely something unique. First off, the suit design is something unique. I know when people see this design, they really like it, because it has design elements that appeal more to the mass majority than people like me who like their suits kind of chunky and ugly. Personally, I really hate all the Astray designs. This one is probably the worst offender because there's just way too much going on, and I'm not a big fan of this color scheme and all the pointy edges and everything. But again, this kit isn't, or this suit isn't really popular just because it's not really well known. Again, when people see it, they love it, but I don't think many people know about it. And Bandai had already made a real grade gold frame. I know it was a P Bandai exclusive and just a variation of the red frame, but Bandai released the red frame, then the blue frame, then the gold frame. We thought like that was it. Bandai was done with Astray frames, and then they announced this thing, which kind of came out of left field. And also, all the real grades that have come out have an MG counterpart, and this one does it. So weird, right? And the other thing that intrigued me was how the gloss-coated plastic would mix with the matte and all the other colors, because the Shinanju, which I wanted to check out originally, just has all gloss-coated red, and I saw that thing in real life in Tokyo, and it looks absolutely awful, at least to me. If you love it, then all power to you, but to me, it really did not look good. But I think gloss black looks really nice. Yeah, so you're getting this nice deep gloss black with this gloss super dark gray and this matte super dark gray. And it all looks really nice, especially up close. From far away, it just all looks black, but up close, it really looks nice. All the colors here look great. But I will say the purple here, it's supposed to be the Blitz Gundam purple, and it's not deep enough purple. It's a little too close to lavender, but it looks okay. It looks fine. I think my favorite design aspect of this is the head. The whole thing is very Japanese with the very pointy and sharp design aesthetics, including the color scheme. Red, black, and gold is a very traditional Japanese color scheme. And this head really looks like a horned beetle to me, which is also very Japanese. Just with these fins and everything on it, it's very cool. I will say that is a piece of the design that I can really appreciate. And I have warmed up to the design as it always goes after building it, so I don't hate it as much anymore. But yeah, design, the head, very nice. I did use the eye stickers in there, as you can see. Kind of, the eyes are very buried in there, so. But I did use the blue ones. There's also a tiny blue dotted sticker right there for the camera. That's not a molded detail, so if you're painting, you're going to have to just dab that with blue. I also forgot to mention that you actually do get 3 different shades of gold. You can kind of see it here in the arm. You get this kind of brownish gold, this more yellow gold, and you get this really awful, what I like to call Lego gold, which is the same sort of gold Lego molds their gold pieces in. And yeah, it just looks really bad. There's swirls all over. There's no glitter or sparkle in it at all. The darker brown gold, actually, for me, I wouldn't repaint it. I think it looks pretty good, especially once you get on the kit. And the other gold, the sort of intermediate gold, I think looks okay too. But yeah, the backpack gold, it's unfortunate that the largest pieces of gold are molded in this really awful gold, but I guess them's the breaks. If you want to repaint this thing, good luck, because the frame, of course, is molded in black and gold because of that dual color technology, which I'll show here in a second, because you do actually get the entirety of the right arm to make. Yeah, design and proportions and everything. If you love the design, then this is an amazing representation of this suit. But the proportions are pretty much perfect, and of course all the color separation is great. Speaking about the build, I know a lot of people have called this a difficult kit, and I'm not sure where they're getting that from. I feel like if you have the proper tools and you're mildly competent at following instructions, you'll build this guy just fine. So if you've never built a kit and you have the tools and you love this design, I'd say just go for it. You can do it. If you're feeling a bit nervous, or you don't have the right tools and maybe you just, I don't know, maybe you just don't think you can handle it, then it's okay. It's okay to hold off and choose a different real grade as your first real grade. Because I will say there are parts in this that do require a little more patience than others. For example, that head, all the color you see in there, that's all separate pieces, and you need like master assassin's levels of dexterity to build that stupid thing. You're handling tiny microscopic pieces to put together that head, and of course tiny pieces is always par for the course with real grades, but that head in particular was pretty annoying. And also, because of this gloss coat, the initial fitting of all the parts, you really have to get your nubs down as close as you possibly can. And of course, with the gloss, you're going to have nub marks. For me, my suggestion is to, cut the nub, take your knife and get it as close as you possibly can, trying not to scratch the gloss. Then take a black Gundam marker and touch that up and use a Q-tip to blend it out. It's not perfect, but I think it's the best way to clean up this gloss. As for the gold, the only real nub you're getting is this over here on the ankles here. Aside from that, there's no real nubs on the gold, which is very impressive. Yeah, they did a really good job at hiding the nubs on the gold. But yeah, all the colors here are great, and I will say that building this thing actually kind of hurt because it's just so pointy. Squeezing parts together and trying to push things in, you'll find yourself kind of pushing on these sharp pieces, so just be careful. In terms of seams, there are seams on these wing pieces. These are all just two pieces clamped together. They're very small and slender, so for me, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not painting this kit, obviously. And I didn't use any of the decals, and that's because I think these decals are awful. Not because there's so many and not because of the context of them or anything, but they're these gloss decals. I'm not sure how that's going to show up on camera, but I know they're going to look horrible on that black. You're going to be able to see the edges, and you're going to see the bubbles more clearly because it's gloss. And yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with these decals, but they're not going on that kit. So for me, I wouldn't decal this guy. I mean, there's already enough things going on with him. I don't think he needs more. So talking about, another thing about the build. So the gray plates are on a runner called Q1, and there's no Q2. And for those of you who know about this suit, that's the Blitz Gundam arm, and that's the Blitz Gundam like colors, the black, red, and purple. So I think it's safe to say we're going to get a real grade Blitz Gundam. I don't know when, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. So yeah, you can quote me on that. There will be a real grade Blitz Gundam. You've got the Jesse guarantee. Anyways, moving on. Talking about articulation and stability, which is always something, a bit of a hot topic for real grades. The stability of this guy is very good, but as you can see, you're going to need a stand to get this guy up. He can stand on his own, but you're going to have to do a mad Michael Jackson lean to get him doing it. And I wouldn't suggest doing it because my real grade red frame has been standing, and it has a microscopic backpack, and yet the ankles have gone completely loose, and so has the waist. This guy has an enormous backpack that is really heavy, so just take a look at that thing. It's huge. And it's really heavy, so I feel like if you leave this guy on the ground standing, over time he's just going to flop over and become a floppy mess. So really get the weight off of him and get him in the air. And for articulation, everything on the body is pretty much perfect. It can go every which way you want. The head is a little hindered simply because of the design, but it's fine. You can get it in a space that looks good for any pose. And the backpack here, which actually has a name, I'm going to absolutely butcher it because it's a very Japanese name, of course. The backpack is called the Maganoi Kutachi, and I think that's only for the little claw pieces, but anyways, the Maganoi Kutachi has quite a lot of articulation. It's a very nice backpack. For one, it can detach and go straight up like this, which is a very cool look. And these wings can kind of go wherever you want them. They can come forward, go all the way back, go very high up. This part opens up. It kind of has this gimmick where it extends and opens up all over the place. And this moves, and again, you can just kind of get it wherever you want. Yeah, these wings are great, and they can fold up very nicely and in a very compact way that looks nice. In terms of accessories, you get a whole lot of accessories for this guy, and they all have ridiculous names that I'm going to try to pronounce, and you are more than free to make fun of me. So the first thing we got is the Triceros Kai, which is pretty much the Blitz Gundam's main weapon. This is a very nicely detailed weapon. As you can see, even the designation is molded in there as a molded detail. These black triangles are actually cut through, and the black you're seeing is this black piece here, which is great. It has two absolutely microscopic stickers for the cameras there and up in there. I don't know how well you can see that, but again, very nice weapon. These spear thingies, which I'm not sure what they're called, are all separate and they go in there. You don't have any way of displaying these things shooting out. You'll sort of have to build something for that yourself, but they do come out. But again, this is a very nice weapon. Can be held in the hand very easily with this handle, and it plugs into the side of that arm. And of course, it's only meant for the right arm. So again, very, very nice weapon. Nicely proportioned, and this is very sharp. So very, very well made. Next, we have the Tsumu Hano Tachi. Sure. Say that one more time. Tsumu Hano Tachi, which is this claw weapon. Again, very cool weapon. I like this weapon quite a lot, more so than the next weapon, which we'll see in a second. But this goes on the left arm and has this swinging part here to sort of block the claws from coming out. Then you swing it up and you can push all these forward, and now you have this really neat and unique claw weapon. I don't know any other Gundam that has a claw weapon like this, but yeah, I just like using this one more simply because it's very unique and easy to pose with. So there's that. And next we have the Okitsu no Kagami. That one's a little easier to say. It plugs onto the back of the arm for the left arm here, and it's like this huge spear. This thing goes in and out because it's meant, when it's in attack mode, it's meant to come all the way out. Whoops. Like that. And then when it's in defense mode, it's supposed to be as close to the arm as possible, like that. I will say posing with this thing is incredibly awkward because it can only plug on the back of the arm and not the side of the arm, but the things that you can do with this thing are pretty cool. So these can open up so that you can put in this effect part, which is in this beautiful translucent orange. I really like the color these are in. And these, as you can see, have two tabs that go into these two holes, and they close around it. I'm not going to do it all the way because it is kind of finicky to get it in and out. Actually, I'm not going to do it right now. You'll see it in the spinning base shots, but this is very cool. And then you can rotate this 90 degrees, open these up so they're flush, and put in this beam shield, which also looks really, really cool. And this is a lot more simple to get onto this weapon. Of course, as soon as I say that, I've got to take it off camera to do it. But anyways, here you go. So you can have this like that on his arm as a shield. I will say posing with this thing is a complete pain in the ass because it collides all the time with that backpack. You've got this long pole, and then you've got the arm kind of, bent up for a blocking pose, and that's bumping into that. Yeah, this weapon's cool, but it's not that fun to pose. So yeah. And also, the last thing you can do with this weapon, as you can see, because it keeps coming off, is detach that part, excuse me, put in this thicker wire they give you, and plug it into the spear head, and now you've got this sort of launching spear, and of course you have to put the energy effect in there. But this is very cool look, very cool weapon. The wire is plenty strong enough to keep it in place, and to help out with balance, they give you this little stand that you can plug into this spear, and so that's very, very helpful. And again, that wire is very nice, works very well. Next, you have these swords. They don't have a name in the manual, so I don't have to embarrass myself, so I'm just going to call them these swords. Super simple. I don't know what color they're supposed to be in. I don't know if they're supposed to be in this purple color, but they have little tabs, so they tab into the appropriate holes in the hands, and they can also be stored on the side skirts with that little tab. Although I will say they do, again, get in the way when posing, so I'm just going to leave them off. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there's no way to store both this and this on the Gundam at the same time, so it's one or the other, which kind of sucks. I wish there was like a place on the backpack that could store one of them. Then you get two wires here. Well, okay, it's one wire that you cut in half, but these are for these little spiky things, and that's the official name, spiky things, on the wings here. And this is also a very cool attack. I really like wire weapons when they're done correctly. Some of the wire weapons, if for example in IBO, were pretty dumb, but I will say that the Barbatos Lupus Rex tail was one of the coolest wire weapons I've seen in a while. But this works very well. You get two, and these wires are plenty strong enough to hold up those little tiny spears. So we'll go ahead and leave him with that on for now. Watch him as he does a lean there. And then finally you get a bunch of hands. So you get a left splayed out hand, very nicely sculpted. A right splayed out hand. I don't know if the Blitz Gundam has this, but this Gundam has little tiny claws on the end of the fingertips, which is very neat, and it's also on the holding hand. You get a right real grade hand, which is useful for nothing. You get a right closed fist, which I wish the right hand came with a closed fist, but it does not. And you get a little tiny pilot figure, which is all in gold, so have fun painting that. And that's it for all the accessories. Yeah, you get a lot with this guy, and you have plenty of options for posing this guy and making him look really, really dynamic. Speaking of which, for me, the best look for this guy is him in some sort of dynamic pose. Just floating there like this, it still looks cool because there's so many things going on that there's just a lot to look at, but to really get the full package out of this guy, you really got to pose him. So brush up on your posing skills or look through the manual for some inspiration, and I think you'll be far more pleased with this guy when he's all posed up. And just to emphasize my previous point, here I've got him posed up in a pose I just quickly found in the manual, and I think this looks great with all these weapons and everything flying around. And I think it's really cool that they give you weapons that are specific for the left side and one that's specific for the right side, so you can really mix and match. I think when he's all loaded up like this, big wing things spread out, I think it looks really great. But I know I said I would talk a bit about what I mentioned earlier about real grades being more for out-of-box builders, and I think that's what Bandai is really aiming for, because if you look at the recent releases like the Shinanju and this and the Unicorn, um, they have made it really hard or harder for modelers to paint these things, because with that gloss injected plastic or gloss coated plastic, there's an extra step we've got to do to strip it off and get it sort of paint ready. And with that dual color injected frame, it just makes it harder to paint properly because you can't separate it. Especially with the Unicorn, I mean, we can really see with the Unicorn. For those of you who don't know, Bandai is basically doing this, where they have the dual colors on one frame, but with the Psycho frame for the Unicorn. So the clear pieces are going to be mixed with the solid gray pieces, and that's really cool for out-of-box builders, because it's going to give you the the perfect color separation, everything for the scale, and you don't have to deal with too many small pieces. But for those of us who paint, it's, unless you're really good at hand painting or you just want to use your airbrush for a proper, I guess, paint job, it just makes it a lot more difficult. The Shinanju, again, that was entirely gloss coated, so that entire thing needs to be stripped of paint. And I think Bandai is really pushing for these real grades to just be built out of box, because just the technologies they're implementing and the finishes they're putting on these things, it really makes it a bit harder for modelers to paint these things. That being said, they still look great. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against out-of-box builders, and I think this right here looks great. And hell, I just built this out of box, and this is how I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to paint this thing because I think it looks great just as it is. But I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that. I really think that's where Bandai's pushing the real grade line indefinitely now. But that being said, to get off that subject and talk more about this kit, it's great. If you have to buy any one real grade, I would get this one. Just saying. I think it looks great. It's very unique. Again, not my favorite design, but it was very fun to build, and I think the gloss and the matte actually work together really, really well, especially when you get up close to it. But anyways, that's all I got to say about this kit. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.